Hi, today the Writer's Mind is welcoming Chris Chamberlain and Marie Rose, both of Chamberlain Rose Productions, and they are audiobook producers, actors, designers. I don't know what else they do. I think they build booths. They are pretty much the whole thing. So, Chris, welcome. Marie, welcome. Good to see you
Thanks,
guys.
Cece. Nice to see you.
So, audiobooks. I mean, this is really where the future is, isn't it? I mean, everything I've been reading talks about how it's been a better year for audiobooks than the year before, and next year they're producing or they're predicting rather that there's going to be a huge rise in audiobook sales. So, I mean, you guys must be happier than that. How did you get into audiobooks? I mean, Chris, I know you were in the Marines. I mean, how does one going from being a Marine into audiobooks?
Well, Ashley Marie got me started in this, on a lark. She had invited me to try to help her finish a project that went south in a studio in Burbank. And I didn't know anything about audiobook production or um, really how to put the nuts and bolts of a project together. So, really, a baptism by fire is the quick answer.
Really? Do you consider yourself kind of a do-it-yourself kind of guy?
I guess I would consider myself a bit mechanically able and a bit of a go-getter.
Yeah.
Uh, I certainly, doing a 4-year tour in the military might spark an idea or two. But how do you go from being in the Marine Corps to being an actor? Actually, there's been a number of well-known celebrities that have started off in the military and who became big names. Certainly, Elvis Presley is probably the most thought of figure when it comes to that.
Well, thank you very much. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
That's good.
Yeah, it's just me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
So, all right. Well, I got tons of questions for you guys. Let's talk about audiobooks. First off, what have you guys seen? How long have you been doing this, and what have you seen in the time that you started doing it?
Hey, Craig, we're having a tech issue here.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's pausing because of our link. We're seeing a pause on screen. Is our video staying clear for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, we'll
Okay.
just resume then. Um, so to your question, basically, I've been doing audiobooks I've been doing commercial voiceovers for a long time. Audiobooks are basically a marathon read. It's like a commercial. You go into the studio, you'll be booth directed to do maybe a 30 to 60 second spot. That's pretty easy in terms of your time investment. Audiobooks can take 77 man hours to produce, depending on the length of the source material. And when you have two narrators, as we do, it's even more complicated because you have to layer in all those characters, two different artists, and it can get really complex and crazy.
When you guys started, did you start with two characters?
No, no. Initially, I was offered an audiobook. My first audiobook was Somebody Tell Aunt Tilly She's Dead by Christiana Miller, and it's available now.
Oh, well.
And it was a very long book. I initially hired somebody else to engineer and booth direct, and we had a parting of the ways, and the book wasn't quite done, and we're on deadline because ACX, which is Audible's production arm, expects you to meet the deadline. We were able to get it done thanks to Chris, who reverse engineered it, figured it out, and was able to help me finish the book and deliver. And then after that, we found that the dual narration, male female reads, were growing in popularity. Chris has been on 200, 300 sets before he can act, and he already had the natural ability and a great speaking voice, in my opinion. So we went ahead and started reaching. It was Chris's idea, like I think a couple Christmases ago, to start reaching out to authors and get some interest in a dual narration. And boy, they love it. So far, authors really like it, and so
So
do the.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay.
Well,
Chris, I know that you talk about, you being a do-it-yourself kind of guy, and I'm pretty sure you didn't really, go and study audio engineering or anything like that. I mean, how did you get the knowledge that you needed to pull all this off?
In an earlier life, in my 20s and 30s, I actually pursued music. That was my primary passion. So I had tons of
I never
experience
knew that.
setting up studios in Los Angeles, gigging, uh, writing music. I can say I probably had my studio is incarnated at least a dozen times over the years, not only in Los Angeles, but up in the Bay Area where I lived for years. Um, so, so many years ago, I started with the idea that I could write a hit song, and I'm still trying to do that too. But if you spend a good amount of time with like-minded folks, and you buy a lot of gear, and you immerse yourself in a studio environment, you'll start to understand, what mics work and what gear works.
As a matter of fact, when we met, we didn't even know that we were capable of doing what we were doing, but I found out he happened to have a brand new microphone that was the perfect kind of microphone that's in our booth now.
Is that a dating thing? Hey, I just want you
And
to know I think you're cute, and I've got a microphone, no pun intended.
it just worked out that he knew he also has a background in construction and knew how to build the booth. So I think that it was just sort of meant to be. And I had the acting ability and understanding the entertainment industry from my background, because I have a master's in theater, and I, have had a background in commercials, voiceovers, that when we found out about audiobooks, we jumped on it.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. The world is changing, but when I take a look at a lot of the books on Audible, I still see that they're produced by like the big five publishers. Um, is that changing at all? Have you seen that change, or is there a direction? Do you think the pendulum is swinging one way or the other?
No, there's always going to be independent authors. The democratization of writing online through Amazon's, independent writers has really boomed. And the publishers, that the content is, the audiences are voracious for content. And the big five publishers couldn't possibly put out enough books per year, audiobooks or otherwise, to satisfy the content hunger out there. So I think what we're seeing is you're seeing just an amazing amount of material. And on the ACX website, which is where we primarily deal on for Audible, those are typically independent authors. Um, but I like working with independent authors. Not that we're closed off to working with publishers, because we're certainly going to pursue that too. But we've been so busy with the independent authors, we haven't had a chance yet.
You know,
Well, go ahead,
one,
Chris.
one thing to just to add to that is part of the promise of having both of us do this would be the additional interest that audiobook listeners might have in hearing a real male doing male roles and a real female doing. And we hadn't heard when we first started this. We had not heard of a lot of that yet. This is a bit of a novel idea. Um, I liken it now. A couple of years later, we've done 8 books. Is the difference between black and white TV and the color TV experience. You don't want to go back to black and white when you've done color.
Well, unfortunately, I do remember that, but I like to say that I was very, very, very young. And I do remember my dad's excitement when he came home with that RCA Victor color TV. And I remember my parents would just tune into the peacock, spreading its feathers.
Right?
That was that was like, wow, the world has changed. So I'm sorry. Back to audiobooks. Forget about my past. Back to audiobooks. So, one of the questions that I have then is, in terms of independence, you know, somebody is not published by one of the big five. Somebody's doing it themselves. Somebody's got an ebook. They've got gone through CreateSpace. They've got a novel, and they say, I think I would like to make an audiobook. What do they have to do? I mean, how do they even get started? And and before you say the ACX word, are there other avenues besides ACX?
There are, but we're more familiar with ACX,
Okay.
so you can certainly go to read a book, or read. There's all kinds of smaller ones, but ACX just happens to be the bigger swimming pool as far as the independent published world goes for audiobooks. And so you can certainly Google around and find out, but the larger distributor is ACX, and they are the technical arm of Audible, which was acquired by Amazon. So basically, the first thing an author would want to do is please proofread your material really carefully first, and lock your, make sure you invest in proofreaders. We come across some very interesting typos that slows down production. And
Well, even more than typos, we found in a recent work an issue with structure. So
well, yeah,
nope.
there was maybe a plot gap or something. And so make sure you've written the tightest version of your story that you can. Then go to www.acx.com, the ACX word, and you can claim your title if it's on Amazon. It's very easy to just type in your title. You see it, you claim it, and you create your own little your rights holder account is what you will do. And then you start searching for know what you want. Do you want dual narration? Do you want a male? Do you want a female? Do you want somebody who can do Cajun accents, or can what standard American do, or does it have to be a British accent? And you can filter your search for producers based on your criteria. So the producer narrator handles everything. You've already written the book. All you have to do is basically sign the agreement that ACX provides. When you find your producer, make your offer, and they either accept or they pass, depending. And then from there, you, as the rights holder, get to sit back and just listen to and approve chapter by chapter as they put your book up on a dashboard that only the two of you can see, until you're both ready to hit the I'm done button. Then ACX will do their quality assurance. They'll make sure it hits all the peaks and valleys that it's supposed to for technical assurance. And then it goes live retail, and then you better be ready to promote.
So
That'll be
in terms of you know, taking your book, claiming the book, do you are you guys producers? Are you talent? Are you both?
We're both.
So if I do I see a list of producers that I can choose from,
Mhm.
and then say, okay, well, with these producers, they also happen to come with their own voice talent, or are there producers who don't come with voice talent as well? And will go about and help you find that voice talent if you're looking for it, especially if you
We
don't know what you're looking for.
we happen to believe that we're all you're going to need, but as
Yeah,
far
well, of
as
course.
but there are producer narrators who also will farm out a role here or there to make it more of a multi-cast book. And they basically have talent that they know and can draw from, or they'll put it out on a Facebook group for narrators. Hey, I'm looking for a male who can do a Slovenian accent. It's $100 per finished hour for your role. Submit your sample.
So the cost, I would imagine, is multiplied by the number of actors you have, right? I mean, it's not if I'm a poor independent writer struggling to get my book out, I don't really have enough money to pay for two actors or one actor. Do you guys do kind of, a 2-for-1 deal or anything like that? Or how does that work?
We can do hybrid deals. It, it's basically a hybrid deal is royalty share. We split the rights holders royalty share 50-50. Basically, ACX takes 60% of your book for
Wow.
the Audible rights. And I'm sorry, I have a little frog in my throat. And the rights holder gets the remaining 40% that he then has to either split with the talent 50-50. So each gets 20% of the book royalty for 7 years, because that's how long the agreement lasts. And then on top of that, usually to entice the better producer narrators, you have to add a per finished hour rate, like $100, $200, depending on what it is,
or more.
or
Or
more.
more. Yeah, top talent is probably 300 to 400 per finished hour.
Right.
Yeah.
And per finished hour means the final hours of retail read according to Audible. So it's like if your book took 77 hours to make, we don't charge $77 per hour. I mean, we don't charge $100 per 77 hours. We charge, let's say it's a 9-hour finished read, it would be 9 times 100 or
Right.
whatever it is.
Times the length in minutes of the actual work. The amount of time you took to make it is totally irrelevant.
Right.
Yeah, if you took 7 times too long, that's your problem. The product is measured by the actual length of the chapters and the other,
Just the time code according to
Yeah.
Audible or ACX.
That includes the opening and closing credits, acknowledgments, and preface, and any other chapters that you might have.
Right. So that's usually how it happens. And I have to tell, usually I show authors, boy, whatever you think you made as an independent author on Amazon, it's so much more lucrative. I've made so much more money on Audible than I ever did on Amazon as a writer myself.
Really?
Oh, yes. And quite a bit more. Depending on the book. Now, we've had some books perform better than others depending on the genre. I think, you happen to write in a very popular genre.
Yeah.
So I think yours is the number one favored genre among audiobook listeners. Mystery, suspense, thriller.
No,
So
I'm feeling terrible. I haven't done my audiobook yet.
yeah, you knew.
So
So you need to think
you
about
need
that.
to do it.
And
My prediction on record here is I think your 2 books will do really well.
yeah, we've read them. We like them. We're fans.
You write about what people like.
And plus, you'll find that audiobook drives your physical and your ebook sales too, because of something called WhisperSync that Amazon does, which basically bundles the 2 books together so that in their technology, if you buy the ebook, you can add an audiobook for a nominal cost, not as much as you would buy it outright on Audible. You don't have the way you can control your pricing on Amazon. You don't have that with Audible. Audible decides your pricing dependent on the length of the listen. And but so basically what happens is people buy your ebook, they have the option to add on the audiobook at a nominal rate, and then they can switch off listening and reading through the WhisperSync device or technology, and it remembers your place. So you're reading at work on lunchtime and you want to listen to the rest of it on the way home in your car, you just listen to it in your car and it remembers where you left off. And you can switch that. And that's been a very popular feature. So people will buy to get the Audible book a little bit more cost effectively. They'll buy your ebook, bundle the 2 together, and have a great experience.
Wow. Okay. I mean,
So that helps drive sales a lot.
So you think though that, I mean, there's still going to be a minimum cost associated with it. I don't know, probably, especially if you find somebody who's willing to do a 50-50 deal, and somebody says, you know what, I want to do the audiobook, but I don't necessarily think I'm going to get rich doing it, but I want to use it as a marketing tool like you suggested. But you're still looking at $900 to $1,500 to get this done.
It depends on how long. If it's a full-length novel, it can be 8 to 1,900, depending. But I got to tell you, if you're not willing to invest, if a rights holder isn't willing to invest in their career that much for what is potentially tens of thousands of dollars,
right?
Got the right genre, and you market it even a bit, then we're not quite sure what to say to that rights holder, because we're investing quite a lot of time and money.
If I could ask your basic question, just so listeners understand what we're talking about here, is the notion of production costs. So there's basically 2 models. One where a stipend is prepended to the author, and that used to occur with ACX.
Anyways, go ahead, Chris.
To resume, so we're talking basically in terms of production costs. There has been 2 modes. Why are we skipping out? We need to go Ethernet next time.
Okay.
Two modes of payment. One is the one where a stipend gets prepended to the contract, and then one without, where it's just the rights holder, which is basically a fancy word for author. The author and the narrator share in the proceeds. So that's called royalty sharing.
Okay.
And if you go on the ACX platform, it's 50-50.
Of the author's side of the royalty.
Got it. Okay.
Right. ACX takes their 60% cut, and author and narrator take an equal split of the remainder.
And
Okay. Now with the stipend, or what is also known as per finished hour, that's where the author actually pays, or ACX would pay a basically write you a check in advance for the against future sales. So that can,
So, I'm sorry, ACX would write you guys, the producers, a check against future sales?
well, here's the thing.
well,
A few. Let me go ahead and grab this one. Basically, a few, and fewer these days. Books. Amazon has these amazing algorithms that can apparently tell what the sales of a book is and if it's likely to really pay out well as an audiobook. So when you put your book up, you never know if you're going to get a stipend or not. You have to wait a couple weeks and see if the algorithm decides your book is worthy. In which case, ACX will put a little banner on your cover for narrator producers to search and say stipend. That means that ACX will, out of their pocket, pay $100 per finished hour to the narrator and the narrator producer
on top of future
royalty
sales.
share. On top of royalty share.
Right.
Now those deals are going by the way. We're not seeing as many of
Yeah.
those, and now authors are having to pay the per finished hour in order to keep.
Now
Some
I understand.
authors who have a certain level of success can make these kinds of offers if they want to. Some authors, not all.
Not all. Okay.
No, it just depends on if you want to get
But
the quality
But the thing
narrators.
is, after you do this for a while, you begin to see that the entry level people that only require $100 per hour per finished hour
Yeah.
are not
Or
in the
royalty
same. They're just not in the same league as somebody who's well known, or who's even a Hollywood actor who's well known, who wants $300 to $400 per hour. There's a reason why things are cheap.
Okay.
Anything you get for free costs too much, in other words.
Right.
So you can accidentally, I mean, your book can get kicked back from Audible. ACX might reject it if it's not done correctly to their specification, to their technical specs. There's a lot of things that the producer narrator has to be able to do, including having the right equipment and the talent and the technical ability to edit and to master and to EQ. All of these things that you have to be able to do in order to deliver the book.
So can you tell me a little bit about those technical specs? I mean, what is it that they require that, stops somebody from, trying to do this at home, but, just talking into their laptop?
Math. That's my short answer, but Chris can tell you a better one.
Well, what Marie's referring to by the word mass, she's saying, mass is a good way to block sound.
Oh, I was saying math, M-A-T-H.
Oh, math. Okay,
because you got to figure out all of those decibels and things like that.
I thought you meant mass.
So there's a technical requirement from a sound standpoint. There must be a background or a hollowness or,
only
people.
a few things. This is no heavy math here. There's no your peaks can't be too high, your lows can't be too low. Your average energy of the signal coming through has to be around a certain number, and you can't be too noisy. If you can, those four things, if you can get those through, then you're going to be fine. And the way that we have found to create a constant kind of work is to not vary any of the variables. Once you set everything up in a template, basically you'll have some kind of digital audio workstation. Now, whether that's Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, Reaper, Audacity, Pro Tools,
Pro Tools, yeah.
whichever version is you'll eventually, if you're doing a lot of this, you're going to want to say, we're going to use the same template. Our mouth to mic distance is going to more or less be the same. We're going to record in the same environment, booth, room, whatever it is. At least don't change that in the middle of your book.
And rights holders, ask your prospective producers, do you have your own equipment? What is it? Do you have a booth? Where do you record? Because we have seen some people trying to do this on their iPhones. They're recording and trying to send in.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get stuck with that.
Yeah,
so,
you don't.
So ask questions. They should be able to reasonably show proficiency.
And, the narrator pages really are a good place for you, the author, to become familiar not only with their sound samples, but they should be hopefully listing their equipment. Because the truth is that just like with the top of the line chefing tools that you're very familiar with, you're going to get better results. As I learned the hard way the other day when I tried to make myself a little meal, using a cheap pan will burn your food. So having an investment in a $1,000, $3,000 mic, there's a reason why those things cost more. They just sound better. But I think in the end, once you get a template going, you standardize your workflow, you set up what's called gain staging, where you figure out what levels the mic needs to be, the signal level coming into the digital audio workstation. And then when you bring all those different characters together, you need an output that leaves it so that the listener can clearly hear every character, and that there's no jarring moments in the story where they might want to, get in a car crash, where somebody can get in a car crash because they had to turn the sound down quickly. You definitely want to stay very far away from moments like that. And we found the easiest way to do that is to use a template. And we work the same way in our booth. Our mouth to mic distances don't change. Our relative energy levels, we know about what we need to do. And the final output we have set with what's called a channel strip. And the channel strip settings include adaptive limiting, EQ, compression, and some other goodies. And then we also use a final output plugin, which tells us that our signal is below the hottest level that ACX and other vendors allow. So
and ACX
you don't want to be bouncing above minus 18 dB.
Got it.
And this is all stuff that most rights holders, even though it's easy for Chris, not so much for me, most rights holders don't want to monkey with all of that or have to know all of that. And believe me, rough chopping a bunch of bad takes just to find the one good take, it's time intensive. It can be laborious. So that's a great reason to hire out. Also, if you go to the ACX, search field, you can listen to samples to try to hear, what kind of narrator. Sometimes it's like finding a needle in a haystack. So you do have to put in some effort to search for the right voice. Most authors have a very specific idea of who their characters are, and they're on a hunt to cast it. To them, it's almost the movie version of their book. So they're really trying to and you also want to find people who know what they're doing and are easy to work with too, or willing to collaborate creatively.
So I think that I had several thoughts. First of all, when it comes to choosing somebody, I would think you'd have to be doubly careful, especially if you're an author who has a series, because you want to be fairly consistent throughout your series. So the person you pick is somebody who's going to be with you for more than one book if you've got a series. The other thing does ACX, do they get into editorial at all? I mean, do they come back and say, you guys were a little over the top, or no, you guys were too subdued, or anything like that?
No more than they actually read your book before they put it up on Amazon. They don't, do they?
That makes perfect sense.
All they do is check it for technical specification. They stay out of the creative completely. Thank goodness. Now, the author, on the other hand, needs to be able to work creatively, and vice versa. The narrator, producer, and the rights holder need to be able to be on the same page about the direction. Some rights holders are very generous about that, we've found. they really give us license to do stuff that even they hadn't thought of with their characters. But at the same time, if they have, hey, well, this character, Karen, she doesn't go that direction, she goes this direction. Oh, okay, now we understand. We solved a lot of that with a character breakdown sheet at the top of the process. We ask the rights holder to, list the character, who they are in the story, relationship, a YouTube video to an inspirational voice, like a celebrity voice that they imagine. Not that we do imitations, but it's good inspiration. And and the rights holder will tell us the tone that she wants each character to have, and that's very helpful. The communication process is really important.
So, you don't have to have the rights holder in the same room, right? You can have somebody from Schenectady, you know, just
Literally.
talking with you guys because we live in a
Yep.
global society. So,
I've only met in face to face one of our rights holders. Everybody else lives across the country.
how'd
So
that go?
it went well. Yeah, it was
Okay.
a good book. It was very well reviewed, and we've sold tons and tons of copies. So
Oh, that's so awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the fact that we're no longer doing, or it's no longer in vogue, I guess, to do the single narration. Have a man reading both man and women, or vice versa for a woman. Although I'm trying to remember, I listened to Girl on a Train, and I know they had several women doing it. Did they have men doing the men's parts on that as well? I can't remember.
I actually own that audiobook, but I haven't listened to it yet.
Okay.
So, but that's a big publisher that could afford, and a big title, they could afford to do a multicast. Um,
Yeah, and also, I would like to probably just state my own opinion about things.
Of
Not
course.
to that's been said, but I'm not sure that the single narrator has fallen out of vogue. I still think there's plenty of people out there, both on the production end and on the creative end, authors and narrators, who do feel that that's still an absolutely valid art form. And I don't think we're going to see the demise of black and white TV in a color TV world for a long, long time yet. Um, because as we found out, there's still an audience, a core audience out there that doesn't necessarily need the higher level of um, interest that multiple um, narrators brings.
there are different
They're
tastes. Yeah.
purists, much the same way that you have purists now who still like listening to symphonic orchestra played on an old turntable.
Right. Of course.
Well,
So
some
there's
people
there,
do it very, very well. Some people, but those are very straight, pure narrators. They don't try to act the book necessarily. They'll do a slight tone or attitude shift, but they won't really try to do voices or character voices. We tend to really delineate our characters more into that we're acting it and performing it. And a lot of our reviews say it's like listening to, a movie or a live or one of the old radio dramas or things like that.
do you put in sound effects?
We have for one of our books, we tried it out, and we got some people love it. Some people just don't find it just too distracting. So it's a personal preference. It takes a lot longer to put in the sound effects, though.
No, I bet. I mean, it's a whole Foley setup that you have to do.
Yeah.
All right. So then, the fact is now that I've noticed that the books that are being released are having multiple narrators. I mean, it, I to me it feels like it's gone to the ridiculous with the George Saunders book Lincoln. I think there's 166 narrators in that book,
I think
something
that's
like that.
each. I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't even know how they expect to make their money back on that because you have to pay 166 actors, and that's worse than Gone with the Wind practically. But I do notice that it's a lot. Do you look at the material and say, and go to the rights holder and say, this kind of lends itself to a male female voice. Do you see that at all, or is that something you discuss beforehand, or
Well,
how does it evolve?
sometimes a rights holder will approach one of us on ACX, not knowing that we are a dual team, um, and they'll say, "Oh, we like your voice. Would you be interested?" And they don't even know that it's possible to get two for the price of one, basically.
Right.
And so we say, actually, and we give them our pitch. This is what you could have instead. This is what we need. It's not unreasonable, by the way. And most people are like, wow, yeah, especially when they hear some samples of what it sounds like. Um, to have that back and forth between two people versus one person answering in different voices themselves. So,
Okay,
uh,
so
no, but once they find out, they get hooked.
what so I'm Joe Independent, and I'm not. I'm C Independent, but you know, I've come to you and I've said I need you guys to do it. You guys do a book. Of course it's brilliant. How do I market it? How do I get it out there so that people and let people know that it's even available to get?
There's a few things you can do, and one thing ACX, and I hope they never end this program, they do something called gift codes. And the author and the narrator side, we each get, when a book is finished and out in retail, we each get 25 Audible gift codes so that you can go out and gift the book to people who are interested in reviewing in exchange for their honest review.
Got it.
And when you run out of those codes, guess what? You can ask for another 25. And so far, knock wood, they've always done it. It's a good idea not to give those out to your friends and your family, and I'll tell you why. Friends and family, for some reason, as much as they love us and want to support us, they're the worst people at getting around to listening to your book and leaving a review. And God bless them. But you really want people who love your genre and who actively seek out your genre, because they're going to give you the most honest, excited review versus, a loved one, who may or may not get around to it. They see it more as a chore or as a favor versus something they want to do. So the other thing you can do is there's something called audiobookboom.com. And that's a great email list. If you know what a BookBub is, it's like BookBub for audiobooks. And it's a very well cultivated, curated list. And people sign up for your genre, and they know that they get their newsletter every week. They can open it up and type in their request for whichever book they want to get a free copy of in exchange for a review. And that has gotten us quite a number of great reviews. There's also something called audiobook.com, which is, again, like a fussy librarian newsletter for Audible.
A
Audio.
fussy librarian newsletter? What's that?
Yeah, fussy librarian is another way it's like another one of those promo email lists like BookBub.
Oh, okay.
So there's a million of those. BookBub, Pixel of Ink, there's a bunch of those. So then you got to get on your social media, tweet it out, join Triber, because Triber will boost your tweets. And you start following people in the audiobook realm. They follow you back. Listeners start finding you on your Facebook page and etc. And we have growing fans. We now have a following of people who now say we want to listen to all of your books. So so the narrator, producer, and the rights holder can share the burden, so long as there's royalty share involved. A lot of narrators won't really promote that much if they're not getting royalty share of this every sale.
I like that.
Wow.
A couple of cents too. Although Marie handles the vast majority of promotion tasks for Chamberlain and Rose Productions, um, I have my own personal perspectives about what I find attractive in wanting to buy somebody's book, or even the thought of maybe one day having other artists narrate my sci-fi and comedy novels, which are forthcoming. And that is the professional aspect. I look for, even if you don't have much money, from wherever you are in the spectrum, if you just started or if you've been at it for a while, is the idea that with whatever you have, you are professional. If you do graphic arts, you do top-notch work. If you do voicing, you do top-notch work. If you're somebody who's only doing promotion, then I know I can count on you to deliver with whatever hat you wear. And we've we've actually found some people online, as well as made new friends who are very good at one thing. And I think that's ultimately what can help you in figuring out a path, because professionalizing everything you do is the key to your emergence as a new artist or a new writer. Um, and insisting on top quality promotion is a function of finding that talent.
Yeah, one of the things we look for in an author is how many Twitter followers do you have? How many Facebook likes do you have?
Right.
Who's your tribe? You know, who follows you?
Yeah.
And I had somebody once tell me that they didn't think their book needed any promotion; it was doing just fine. And I was like, "What? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I want to,
Right.
really invest
How
all."
how is John Grisham?
I know, right?
Right. I had
And they weren't John Grisham.
Yeah.
So it's just as important that the author asks, and we've had authors ask us who do promote themselves. They say, "Do you help in promoting?" We're like, "Oh
Oh
yes,
yeah.
this represents tens of thousands
Absolutely.
of dollars over a 7-year
Yeah.
period.
You
If we
bet.
take you on, we
We're
throw
gonna
ourselves behind
we're
it."
gonna talk about you. We're gonna talk up your name. On the other end of the spectrum, though, is as a narrator, I've had people send me emails of interest saying, I like your voice samples. Would you be interested in doing my work? And then we find out how unprofessional they are. They have no likes. They have no Twitter account, no Facebook, um,
No reviews,
no
no
reviews anywhere,
ranking.
nothing on Amazon. So
And
I,
then you look at their book and they're usually very,
the
you know,
writing, no
the grammar's
proofreading.
not great or something. And we've had to pass nicely on those kinds of things because it's not worth our time. We put a lot of hours in the booth and in editing and the post-production to have a book not get all the promo love it deserves after.
I would imagine you can also cross promote in terms of,
We
there
do.
are Amazon giveaways for your book, and then people will click on the page. And as long as they see the Amazon page, they'll see that there's also an audiobook available. And so I'm sure that there's some people, some potential buyers, right, who just click and go, oh, look, it's an audiobook too.
Well, and what I also do is when I do my Amazon giveaways, you can also direct them to do something for you. Like you have to like you like my Twitter, or you can direct them to YouTube to watch your book trailer. And the book trailer, and we do Audible book trailers as well as regular book trailers. And then they're, if you've done your book trailer well, they're hooked. And then we're finding sales connected to that.
Oh,
So
that's
we
interesting too. Yeah.
now on one of our book trailers that's really nicely done, and we've noticed the spike in sales whenever we do that kind of cross promo.
So, what about Amazon? Not Amazon. Facebook. I see a lot of people starting to take out Facebook ads. Have you guys had any positive return on those at all?
um, well, the Facebook ads that he's talking about are where you purchase ads and off of Facebook, and then you target it to an audience, and for $1 a click or 60 seconds, whatever you set your budget for. I have never ever seen. Please save your money, folks. Sorry, Facebook, but that's not good. What I tend to do, and what Facebook doesn't want you to do, because they would rather have the coin and have you pay them for your ad not going anywhere, is I joined there's a ton of reading groups on Facebook and book promotion groups on Facebook where you can go and you can just, 10 a day. I go and I post in, Kindle Unlimited lovers, or audiobook listener lovers, or, whatever, or genre. There's specific genres. I write in the werewolf shifter romance area sometimes, and there's very specific genre groups you can go in, and they eat it up. They're like, oh, we want it. You get 1 million likes, and then they go and they buy your book. That it's a little bit more laborious, but it actually pans out better in terms of return on investment, and it's free. You can do it yourself, or you can hire a virtual PA to do it for you.
Okay. Well, we're getting close to the end here, so I'm going to start wrapping it up. People want to get in touch with you. How should they do that?
www.chamberlainrose.com, chamberlainroseproductions.com. We're also chamberlainroseprods@gmail.com. And we also have a Facebook account, Chamberlain Rose Productions on Facebook.
And of
And
course, look for you on ACX.
yes, and at ACX right now, they won't do dual narrator pages, so you have to look at Marie Rose's page or Chris Chamberlain's page.
Oh,
And
got it.
our dual samples up there too.
Okay, and if people want to see or listen to samples, or is there a place that they can go? Can you give me some links?
Absolutely. We'll shoot you some links to post with the podcast.
Okay, I'll do that. And Chris, go
Look
ahead.
on ACX.
Oh, I missed that.
The easiest way to find our samples on the internet right now is just to go to acx.com and look up our names.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right, and anything that you guys want to talk about that I didn't bring up?
I think we covered a whole lot of ground.
Yeah, and your voice
We're
is
we're
even sounding
definitely
better.
Yeah.
we're excited about the future of audiobooks. From 2014 to now, we've seen double-digit growth in the audiobook market.
Every
So
year, yeah.
I don't think the people that are commuting in the world cities are unfortunately going to have an easier time. It's become evident to us here in Texas that traffic can be as bad here
Anywhere else.
As in Los Angeles. So that might be a reason to tune off the news and listen to a good audiobook, maybe a story by C. Stephen Ellis.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Come and
Thank you
say.
guys very, very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
C.
Thank you. Have a good day.